Volume 1 Juvenile Blood Chapter 3 _ How Bad Guys Are Made 1. That's how the name of Three Eyes comes from. Li Shuang ran downstairs, and two groups of people stood on the school playground. One group is 17 or 18 people led by Gao Chong, and the other is a dozen or so people under Three Eyes. Gao Chong was tilting his head and squatting on the ground to smoke. Seeing Li Shuang coming back and popping out the cigarette butts, Gao Chong stood up and asked, "Where's Brother Dong?" "Brother Dong will come down later. Let them wait." Li Shuang's fat body is slightly wheezing. Gao Chong was upset when he saw it. "Grass, look at your fat look. Can't you lose weight?" Takes a few steps to gasp like a pig. "Damn it, you think I don't want to lose money. It's easy to say." Li Shuang looked at the impatient three-eyed man and said, "Wait a minute, our boss will be down in a minute." "Grass, what kind of JB thing? And he really thinks he's a thing," cried a man in yellow sunglasses. Li Shuang heard that the blood in his body burned, walked up to the man, punched him in the face without warning, and his sunglasses were blown away. The three-eyed men did not expect that they would fight as soon as they were told, and they did not give them any face. They put their hands in their clothes and grabbed the knives hidden inside. The leader inside waved, stabilized his men and said to Li Shuang, "The new guy is not sensible." I laughed. Li Shuang smiled, easy to say. Then he stared at the one who took him with a straight face and said, "Take your little brother out and train him first. You know? Don't spray dung all over your mouth, Grass." The leading face changed, but soon did not smile and said, "Well, brother taught this punch, I remember." Hey. You remember your mother, motherfucker." Gao Chong held back on one side for a long time, and when he saw that the other party took the lead, he scolded and kicked in the other side's belly. The man stooped to step out and let his men hold him. Now the three-eyed men really quit and took out all the knives. The people brought by Li Shuang Gao Chong also took out other prescriptions behind him. Both sides were ready to go, and everyone stared to find his opponent. Just then, Xie Wendong walked out of the teaching building with his hands crossed. "Heh, how lively it is." Xie Wendong came to the center of the crowd and ignored the knife in each other's hand. There was an ordinary student in number 2 middle school uniform. The substitute rubbed his stomach and asked, "What do you do, boy?" Xie Wendong did not speak. Li Shuang shouted, "This is our boss." Xie Wendong, the substitute, looked up and down in front of him and said, "Grass, is there no one in these 2 middle schools? Find a malnourished one to be the boss." Xie Wendong did not let go of the contempt that flashed in his eyes and stood smiling. After looking at it for a while, the man nodded and said, "Boss Xie, our eldest brother has something to discuss with you. Could you do me a favor to get together in the evening?" "No problem, time and place. I won't be free if it's too late," Xie Wendong promised briskly. The man nodded and said, "Come to the Xinshin Billiard Hall after school, and our boss will be waiting for you there. What do you think?" Well, it's settled. As a matter of fact, Xie Wendong wanted to meet this three-eyed bastard for a long time, but he never had a chance. He never thought he would take the initiative to find himself today. Watching the group leave, he said to Li Shuang and Gao Chong, "You two are too impulsive. You have to change later." Gao Chong bowed his head and said nothing. Volume 1 Juvenile Blood Chapter 3 _ How Bad Guys Are Made 1. Li Shuang said loudly, "Brother Dong, they are too arrogant. I wouldn't have done it if they hadn't scolded you first." Xie Wendong smiled. "I don't mean to blame you. I just remind you that keeping a clear head at all times can make you suffer less." Li Shuang and Gao Chong nodded and said, "Got it, Brother Dong." They think what the boss said is also reasonable. Just now, if the boss doesn't really fight, don't look at the large number of people on his side, but he may not be able to take advantage. Gao Chong thought for a moment and said, "Brother Dong, I don't have any good intentions to look for us 3 times. Do you think it's just—" Xie Wendong said, "If we really want to gain a foothold here, we must first go through tonight. It may be dangerous, but if you don't have the guts, why come out and mix it up?" Gao Chong blushed and nodded. "Brother Dong, what do you want to do at night?" "I'll listen to you." Xie Wendong nodded and was silent in deep thought. The bell rang after school in Xian number 2 middle school. The gate of the school was immediately overcrowded. For some reason, the students rushed to the school gate, which was not wide in the first place. The first one to come out shouted, "Yes, excited elephant won the first prize." In the teaching building, on both sides of the stairs between the first floor and the second floor, there stood more than 24 students, each with their hands crossed pockets and cigarettes in their mouths. Whether they could smoke or not, at least they thought they were very handsome. Seeing a beautiful girl passing by, whistling and cheering, earned. This is really beautiful. Pleasing to the eye, get out of here, what's the look in your eyes? Looks like Zhu Beiji, my second aunt. Ha ha. Grass. Li Shuang and Gao Chong were not as happy as they were standing in the crowd. Li Shuang asked Gao Chong, "Brother Chong, what time is it?" Gao Chong looked at his watch and patted him on the shoulder. "What time did you say after school? You're so nervous. I'll handle the big deal." Li Shuang swallowed and spat and said, "Grandma, if you're not nervous, it's a lie. The other party has 3 eyes. What happened to the 3 eyes? It's not human. Don't you vomit when you drink too much, and you also pull when you eat too much?" The strong words caused a roar of laughter. Li Shuang laughed and said, "You are the only old ghost with many words." When Xie Wendong came down from the corridor on the second floor, everyone stopped smiling, stood upright on both sides of the stairs, bent down together and said, "Hello, Brother Dong." Xie Wendong nodded and asked, "Do you have everything?" Li Shuang said, "Brother Dong, don't worry, the guy has a hand." "Well, let's go. Now we can finally meet the legendary 3 eyes." Xie Wendong said half-jokingly. Everyone looked at the relaxed Xie Wendong and was even more relieved, talking and laughing all the way to the Xinshin Billiard Hall. The Xinshin Billiard Hall is on the left side of No. 2 Middle School. Students from No. 2 Middle School usually come here to play billiards. First, it is close to the school, and second, the price is cheap, 1 shot 50 cents. But the table is broken. Xie Wendong and others came to Xinshin. At this time, there was no guest in the billiard hall, and the hole was covered by 3 eyes. The third eye was playing with a younger brother with a club. Seeing Xie Wendong leading a group of people in, he greeted him with a few laughs. It was very dark in the billiard hall, and it was not until he walked into Xie Wendong that he could see the appearance of 3 eyes. A little in his 20s, about 1.78 meters tall, with a haircut. A lot of people have the first feeling that this person. Volume 1 Juvenile Blood Chapter 3 _ How Bad Guys Are Made 1. Very generous, always smiling. 3 eyes also looked at Xie Wendong, nodded and said, "Brother is the recently famous Xie Wendong, right?" Xie Wendong smiled. "Brother 3 eyes all know the name of my younger brother. I don't know if it is a blessing or a curse for my younger brother." 3 eyes glared, and then smiled. "Brother Xie is sensible. I like it. Ha ha," picked up a club and handed it to Xie Wendong and said, "Brother, are you interested in a shot?" Xie Wendong never played billiards, but he did not hesitate to take the club and said, "All right, I have to play even if I don't know how to play, or I won't give 3 eyes face." 3 eyes squinted. "Well, brother, I love to hear that." Holding the club and opening the ball with 3 eyes. "I shouldn't have asked how my brother was at school, but since it was in my land, it would be too much not to say hello. Xie Wendong has seen others play and knows how to play. Pick up the club to play the 6th ball, said. My brother is also a stick soon. Some things do not understand and need more advice from 3-eyed brother. The ball didn't get in. I don't dare to say that we all cooperate with each other. 3 eyes scored a goal. Brother recently collected a lot of money in school, right? Too many are not. They are all poor students, so they can only be a few hundred a day. Xie Wendong wiped the head of the pole. The 3-eyed smiled and said, Brother, what a big tone. It's at least more than 10,000 in a month. When the ball didn't get in, 3 eyes went on to say, Originally, I used to control this place, but now you have a stick in the middle and none of my little brother can get in. Brother, do you have to make a living? Xie Wendong smiled and said, I dare not say for a living. Having said that, I think there are only a few options left. 3 eyes leaning on the club to see the opposite side of the table. Xie Wendong. Oh, I don't know what to say. Either you go, or I go, or we merge. My brother is telling the truth. Three Eyes grew cold. Does my brother mean to kick me out of this area? Xie Wendong smiled and stared 3 times. Brother Three Eyes need not scare me. Since I am here, I am not afraid of you. We don't have to lose when we fight. It's just that it's not good for everyone. Isn't it? Xie Wendong paused and bent down to play ball. The Three Eyes dared no longer despise the thin young man in front of him, and his intuition told him that he was not simple. Neither mind nor courage is weaker than an old man who has been in society for a long time. Three Eyes took out a box of Red River from his pocket and took out 2 heels and handed them to Xie Wendong. Xie Wendong smiled and said, "Thank you," and put it in his mouth. Li Shuang, who was next to him, came over to put Xie Wendong and the cigarette in his mouth. He looked at Li Shuang 3 times and said to Xie Wendong, "This kid is quite good at doing things." Pause and then say, "What do you mean, brother?" "When I say merger, it will be good for everyone, but no one will lose." Xie Wendong spit out the rims under his eyes. "Ha ha, merge? Well, that's a good idea. It's all good." Three Eyes rubbed the club in his hand and said, "But how can Xie Wendong not know? Brother Three Eyes is talking about who will take the boss's seat, right?" Three Eyes are silent, just a little. Volume 1 Juvenile Blood Chapter 3 _ How Bad Guys Are Made 1. Nod and squint at Xie Wendong. "I'm not qualified to compete for the position of boss with Three Eyes, but if I let the brothers out empty-handed, they will also say that I have no backbone." Then just one word. Three Eyes frowned and asked, "What are you saying?" "1-on-1. You and me, who wins and who takes the boss's seat." A glimmer of cold light flashed in Xie Wendong's eyes. With Three Eyes staring, "I can't believe he said that." Look up and down again at Xie Wendong. Nothing special, barely 1.7 meters tall, but also very thin. What kind of person is this? How dare you say such a thing? Ha, ha, ha. With a three-eyed smile. Brother is a man of his word? Oh, why come out and put up a stick if you don't mean what you say? Well, let's do it. What day do you say? Said the Three Eyes with confidence. Xie Wendong looked around and said, "You have a good place, and I don't have much free time. I think we should do it now." Hey, good. Xie Wendong took off his coat. Li Shuang and Gao Chang did not expect things to become this effect. Li Shuang worried and asked, "Brother Dong, do you really want to fight 1-on-1? Three-eye fighting is famous." Xie Wendong threw his clothes to Li Shuang and whispered, "This is the best way to solve the problem. We are too weak to compete with Three Eyes. Turn around and walk towards the center of the billiard hall." At the same time, Li Shuang and Gao Chang touched the knife on their waist and thought that if the boss was in danger, he would split the bastard first. See each other is the same action. Two people look at each other with a smile. Everything goes without saying. At this time, Three Eyes asked his little brother to move the billiard table in the middle to one side, and then turned on all the lights in the room. All of a sudden, the room was bright. He took off his coat himself and lifted the sleeves of his shirt up to get ready. Now he thinks it's funny. He wants to fight with a half-big boy. I don't know if it will be humiliating to wear it out. Xie Wendong stood in front of the Three Eyes without the slightest nervousness, as if everything was under control. There was silence in the billiard hall, and everyone was looking at the two men standing in the middle of the court. An invisible pressure pervades the air. Seeing that Xie Wendong had no intention of doing it, he first said, "Brother, can we start?" Xie Wendong nodded and answered him. "Be careful. Three Eyes are no longer polite." One punch to Xie Wendong. His body stepped back to avoid the punch, but then he got a three-eye kick in the stomach and Xie Wendong was kicked. As soon as he was about to get up, the Three Eyes did not give him the chance at all and kicked him in the stomach again. The body lying on the ground didn't stop until it slid 2 meters away. Li Shuang couldn't help it on the other side, and when he was ready to draw the knife, Gao Chang stopped him and whispered, "Wait a minute!" Li Shuang stamped his foot in anger and sweat flowed out. In the commentary, the madman said, "I can still walk after being stabbed in the thigh. This is my mistake. It would be better to change help to back." There is a back, at least the front should add time 1 day after a month, will be more reasonable. I'm sorry to you here. And the tiger, I said, the plot is strange? If the underworld is so easy to get along with, shake your head, speechless. I have some objection to this point. The current protagonist has not reached the level of the underworld, can only be said to be hanging out in the school. As you said, gangsters are not so easy to get along with. Even the three eyes in this section do not belong to the underworld, they do not have a stereotyped organization, there is no fixed source of funding, and the flow of personnel is also very large. It can only be regarded as some unemployed young people in society, mixing together in groups. Without killing people, without blinking, selling drugs and smuggling, it is easy to have a big fight. Haha, that's all I have to say, and it's not over. Finally, as an old saying goes, support if you like, scold if you don't like it, and improve only if you hear different opinions. Thank you for leaving a message, so I have to post one more section. It looks like we'll be busy again tomorrow. Sweat Water. Volume 1 Juvenile Blood Chapter 4 _ How to Make a Bad Guy 1. Seeing Xie Wendong lying on the ground for a long time, he smiled and said, "Brother, I won. Turn around and pick up your clothes from my little brother's hand and put them on." "I don't think so." I don't know when Xie Wendong stood up with no pain on his face and a pair of blood-red eyes shining cold. "You." The third eye knows the strength of the feet just now, which should not be able to bear by a 15 or 16-year-old. "Oh, it seems that I underestimate you." Three eyes strode towards Xie Wendong, lifted his leg and kicked him in the face. Take a step back. Xie Wendong did not fall. Then there was another leg. Xie Wendong took 3 steps back and still stood there. Blood was flowing from the corners of the nose and mouth, and the faces on both sides were swollen. Spit out blood, Xie Wendong smiled. He was a little scared at the third eye, even though he was a beater. "Pour it for me." With a loud cry, the three eyes used all their strength and punched Xie Wendong. Xie Wendong's trembling body suddenly squatted down, hit the air with three eyes, and rushed forward. Xie Wendong's ramshackle body became flexible, quickly pulled out other knives from his waist and pierced into the soft ribs of his three eyes. The tip of the knife pierced into the muscle and stopped. Xie Wendong pulled back the knife, pointed three eyes with the tip of the knife and said, "You were dead just now." Three eyes touched the wound on the soft rib, leaned against the wall and bowed his head in silence. Xie Wendong stood there quietly waiting for his reply. Li Shuang looked excited and whispered to Gao Chong next to him, Hey, brother Dong Won." Gao Chong nodded, put his hand on the handle of the knife in his waist, and moved slowly towards the middle of the field. The fact that he lost in the third eye does not mean that he is ineffective. Gao Chong was afraid that three eyes could not afford to lose, so he secretly attacked Xie Wendong. After a while, three eyes looked up, looked at Xie Wendong and said, "I'm a little dissatisfied, but a man has to keep his word. I lost. From now on, you will be my boss. As long as you say a word, I can give you this life." With that, he bowed respectfully. Xie Wendong he smiled and fainted in front of his eyes. Three-eyed and quick, he rapped Xie Wendong and shouted, "All JB, go out and stop a cab." Before I finished, Li Shuang jumped out looking for a car. Three Eyes and others sent Xie Wendong to the hospital, which was diagnosed as multiple cartilage injuries, a small amount of internal bleeding and a slight concussion. "I have to be hospitalized." Li Shuang called Xie Wendong's family and said he had a car accident and is now in the hospital. After hearing this, Xie Wendong's parents asked which hospital, and came in a hurry. After the meeting, Li Shuang and others comforted and explained, so that Xie Wendong's parents felt at ease. In order to increase his credibility, Li Shuang grabbed the three eyes that had just been posted with gauze and said, "Uncle and aunt, it was he who hit Brother Dong with his car." Gao Chong and several brothers around him nodded fiercely, flushed with three eyes and scratched his head with an awkward smirk. Half a month later, Xie Wendong basically recovered, and the doctor said he would be fine after recuperating for a while. On this day, only his parents came to pick him up and discharged him. Three Eyes and other people have already said hello in advance and can't come. Xie Wendong doesn't want his parents to see these people either. When he got home, His parents cooked a big meal for him to celebrate his discharge from hospital. Looking at the table full of food, Xie Wendong said to himself that he was ashamed. If his parents knew that they were admitted to the hospital because of a fight with others, no. Volume 1 Juvenile Blood Chapter 4 _ How to Make a Bad Guy 1. I know what they'll think. Now Xie Wendong not only feels sorry for his parents, but can't give up his present life at the same time. In this passionate and indulgent day, he feels what happiness is. Nothing in the world can be happier than being respected by others. At least that's what he thinks now. He doesn't know if what he's doing is right, but one thing is certain. He likes his life now, and maybe he was born a bad guy. Xie Wendong put his troubles behind for the time being and happily finished the meal on the table with his parents. The next day, Xie Wendong walked to the school with his school bag. From a distance, I saw no less than 50 people standing across the street from the school gate, and Xie Wendong's mouth cocked up. I saw Three Eyes and Gao Chang squatting on the ground, talking with cigarettes in their hands. Li Shuang's fat body could not squat. Standing beside him, he danced with his hands and feet and said something. Xie Wendong, who was far away from him, could hear him in a loud voice. The three men saw Xie Wendong coming from afar and stood up with the cigarette butts. Gao Shuang withdrew his voice and shouted, "Stand up! Stand up! Brother Dong is here." The scattered boys quickly stood in 2 rows, and when Xie Wendong approached, they shouted in unison, "Hello, Brother Dong!" The passing students saw that they all consciously hid far away, and the pedestrians on the road looked back one after another and thought to themselves, "The underworld, this is?" Three Eyes scratched his head and looked sheepishly at Xie Wendong. "Brother Dong, I'm really sorry last time. Thanks to Brother Dong that the knife didn't go in. The doctor told me that the wound was near the liver." Xie Wendong said with a smile, "If I really stick in, can I still have you as a good brother?" After saying that, put your hand into your 3 eyes. With a touch of emotion in his 3 eyes, he clung to Xie Wendong's hand. Li Shuang and Gao Chang also came to put their hands on it, and the hands of the 4 were tightly clasped together, just like their fate, inseparable and intertwined. None of the 4 spoke, hoping to keep the excitement of this moment in their hearts forever. Now Xie Wendong is a real hero in the heart of the younger brother below. They feel that as long as Brother Dong is there, no difficulty can defeat them. Heroes are not meant to be said, but can only be proved by actions. Took a long time for the 4 to separate their hands. Li Shuang took out a bulging paper bag from his pocket and gave it to Xie Wendong and said, "Brother Dong, this is the money collected in a week. It's a lot more than before." Xie Wendong opened it, nodded and said to Li Shuang, "Use this money to invite everyone to dinner tonight, but also let everyone get together to get to know each other." Li Shuang was delighted. He liked eating and drinking best. His eyes narrowed into a slit and said, "Thank you, Brother Dong." He turned around and shouted, "Gather at the door in the evening, and Brother Dong invites everyone to dinner." "Yes, please. Hooray!" Everyone shouted with delight. The pedestrians on the road frowned again. Having nothing to say during the day, Xie Wendong first called home at night to say that his friends had a birthday party and would be back later in the evening. Then, with 3 eyes, Li Shuang and Gao Chang, he led more than 50 people to a medium-sized restaurant. After entering the house, the boys shouted loudly, and the guests inside were either scared away or driven out. 3 eyes chose a clean table to let Xie Wendong in the middle, and then arranged for everyone to sit down. Xie Wendong, 3 Eyes. Volume 1 Juvenile Blood Chapter 4 _ How to Make a Bad Guy 1. Gao Chang and Li Shuang are sitting together. The owner of the restaurant heard the waiter say that a group of social people had come, no less than the 50th. The boss thought he was in trouble and hurriedly came out from behind and laughed at everyone. "Oh, brothers are really honored to come to my little shop. It is really my brother's honor. Eat whatever you want, and this time my brother is on me." When Li Shuang looked at the speaker, he was in his 30s with no less fat than himself, and he was smiling and talking. Li Shuang waved his hand and said, "Are you the boss here?" As soon as the boss saw that he was talking to a fat man who was not old enough, he dared not underestimate him. He came over and said, "Oh, I am the boss here. I don't know why the little brother brought these people here. There is no intention of finding fault. Li Shuang pointed to Xie Wendong next to him and said, "This is my eldest brother. I picked you to invite my brothers to dinner today. You'd better give me a fair price, or the brothers won't do it." The boss breathed a sigh of relief that all the restaurants opened in J City were sensible people who knew what to say to someone. "Look, brother, what are you talking about? People think highly of me when they come. Make a friend. This meal is on me." Xie Wendong waved his hand. "Boss, you don't have to be too polite. We have no other meaning this time. We just want to have a meal. If you have any specialty, just serve it, and your brother won't let you accompany the money." The boss said with delight, "Yes, then I won't be polite to my brothers. I'll arrange for everyone to eat and drink." Xie Wendong nodded, and the boss wanted to go to the kitchen at the back. Seeing him leave, Li Shuang bared his teeth and smiled. "This boss is all right. Chao is not an ordinary person either," Gao Chang murmured. Looking at the table for 3 times, he felt that there was something missing, and with a pat on the head, I had to listen to the boss's words. Then he shouted, "Waiter, give me 6 cases of beer first." The waiter came over, a young girl, blushing and timid, and asked, "What kind of beer would you like, sir?" Li Shuang saw that the little girl was good-looking and teased her and asked, "Miss, what kind of beer do you have? Let me hear it." "There are Happy 11 Degrees, Jiafeng, 5 stars. Is there anything else?" Li Shuang stared at the girl. The girl's face turned even redder and whispered, "There's nothing else. You think about it, think about it." Xie Wendong gave Li Shuang a shudder on his head. "You talk a lot." He turned to the girl and said, "Waiter, come to Jiafeng." The girl nodded and ran away. Gao Chang smiled and blinked and said, "Lao Fei, you look so patriotic that you frighten the little girl. Damn it. I'm going to lose weight tomorrow." There was a roar of laughter around. The wine was served very quickly, and after a while, several young people carried 6 cases of Jiafeng from the outside. 3 Eyes poured the wine and stood up and said, "Brothers, let's have our first glass of wine to Brother Dong. A toast to Brother Dong's discharge from the hospital." Everyone stood up and said, "To Brother Dong." Xie Wendong stood up, nodded with a smile and said, "Thank you. I should have made a toast to you first, but I didn't expect Brother Zhang, 3 Eyes, to take the lead. Say no more. Let's do it." Everyone shouted, "Do it!" There was a crash of cups in the restaurant. Li Shuang poured another glass of wine and stood up. "Here's to Brother Dong. May Brother Dong take us to play." Volume 1 Juvenile Blood Chapter 4 How to Make a Bad Guy 1. The next one to sit in his own country. When they heard this, they all stood up and said, "To Brother Dong, take me to fight Jiang Shan." Just after drinking a cup, Xie Wendong had no choice but to pour another cup and hold it up and say, "In the future, we will have to rely on everyone's efforts, and achievements will be created by everyone. Do it, do it. Everyone, you say a word," he said. "The food is not yet complete. Under the table has been lying down a piece." Northeastern people don't pay attention to a process of drinking. They want to have a good time. This is directly related to the bold character of the people in the Northeast. Those who work hard today may be brothers of life and death tomorrow. Straightforward, generous, informal is the nature of the Northeast, although it is difficult to be understood by friends in the South, but I think this is also their loveliness. Xie Wendong didn't drink as much as the other boys. They drank and chatted. 3 Eyes touched the wine glass and said, "Brother Dong, I think we should set up an organization. Now that there are more and more people, it is difficult to control without a complete organization." Li Shuang Gao Chang had such a plan. Nodding, Gao Chang said, "Brother 3 Eyes is right. If we want to become a climate, we must have our own organization." Li Shuang went on to say, "Yes, just like the Axe Gang in our city. How awesome it is! J City Axe Gang is an ancient gang in this city, and no one knows when it began. Recognized underworld organizations." Xie Wendong bowed his head and said nothing. He also wants to set up an organization, but it's easy to say, but it's too hard to sit. He picked up his glass and took a sip and said, I have no objection to organization, but at that time, the number of people will increase tremendously. It depends on the organization to eat, drink, and play. What do you think we use to feed them? When the three of them froze, Xiaowundong looked up and drank the wine in his glass, and then said, We now get all our money by collecting protection money from students, and it will not exceed NT $20,000 at the most in a month. How can we maintain the organization with this money? Even if it is barely established now, it will only break us up soon. Gao Chang asked, Brother Dong, what do you mean? Xiaowundong smiled and bowed his head to play with the wine glass in his hand. Li Shuang was impatient. Seeing that Xiaowundong did not speak, he asked loudly, Brother Dong, you were talking, we all listened to you. Xiaowundong looked at the three people who stared at him without blinking and said slowly, Now it should be, study hard. Li Shuang Gao Chang was silly and blurted out, Study hard? Yes, you should study hard now. There is still a month to go to the middle school exam. You all go to high school for me. If anyone fails in the exam, I will never forgive him, Xiaowundong. Unless you don't want to come with me. Three Eyes also silly. What about me? Xiaowundong said with a smile. You still control this place, and you want to expand your influence, and the goal is each lieutenant colonel. The underworld forces don't like places like junior high school where they pay a little money. They don't want us to take in more schools and young bastards outside the school. That's our foundation. Three Eyes nodded. Brother Dong, I understand that small forces like us are everywhere in the city. We didn't even stick to the edge of the underworld, so we couldn't afford to fight with others. He is a triad, so let's have a gray society, neither black nor white, right? Xiaowundong nodded admiringly and said to Li Shuang, Xiao Shuang Hadron, learn more from Brother Zhang. There is no harm in you. High Strength. Volume 1. The Hot Blood of Young People Chapter 4 _ How Are Bad People Made One. Her face blushed, but she still didn't understand. Then why are we going to high school? Xiaowundong stood up. His eyes were abnormally bright. Come with me to Control Number 1 High School. Li Shuang and Gao Chang's jaws almost dropped. Control Number 1 High School? Oh my God! Li Shuang then laughed and said, I'm really looking forward to it. Number 1 High School is a well-known gangster high school in the province. Ha ha! Turning around and asking Gao Chang, Brother Chang, do you know how many criminals in the province come out of our city's number 1 middle school every year? Gao Chang shook his head. He really didn't know about this, but he just heard that it was quite chaotic there. Seeing Gao Chang shaking his head, Li Shuang shook his head and said, Hee. According to incomplete statistics, 8% of the criminals in the province are in City J number 1 middle school. Haha, this is great. Three Eyes and Gao Chang Qingfua said to Xiaowundong in disbelief, Dong Gu, this can't be done, right? Xiaowundong narrowed his eyes and said, I don't know too well about this. I don't know where Xiao Shuang heard this. But 9 times out of 10 it's unreliable. Three-eyed Gao Chang looked at each other and said with a big expression of realization, Oh, so some people made it up. Li Shuang said anxiously from the side, What I said is true. Trust me. Cut. Three Eyes and Gao Chang tacitly stretched out their middle finger and turned around to ignore him. Gao Shuang, whose face was red, stood up fiercely and shouted, Where is Lu Xinyu? Get out here. You are lying to me with lies. A hand stretched out from the bottom of the table not far away, and an inarticulate voice came, Who called me? Everyone enjoyed this meal or drank it very happily. In the end, it cost a total of more than 1,000 yuan to check out, but the restaurant owner waived the money for the drinks. Everyone only took a few bites of the more than 1,000 meals, because their stomachs were already filled with beer when the food arrived. Another characteristic of Northeast China: waste, sweat. Although Xiaowundong didn't drink much, he still drank too much without alcohol. Although he was conscious, his body seemed to be floating. Gao Chang and Sanyan drank a lot, but neither of them was drunk. Only Li Shuang was drunk. One time, He held Xie Wendong's hand and cried until his face was full of tears. One time he held Gao Chang and laughed. One time he kissed San Yan on the face. In the end, everyone came to a conclusion. Li Shuang must not be allowed to get drunk again in the future. This person's alcohol quality is not too bad. Gao Chang took a call and sent Li Shuang home. Three Eyes wanted to send Xie Wendong off, but he politely refused. Volume 1 Juvenile Blood Chapter 5 _ How to Make a Bad Guy 1. Xie Wendong walked alone on his way home. It was more than 10 o'clock in the evening, and there were few pedestrians on the road. The grass beside the road rustled as the night wind blew. At this time, the city was unusually quiet, but cars roared past from time to time. Xie Wendong kicked the pebbles on the road as he walked, thinking about something on his mind. What will happen to your future? Whether to be a black or white gangster all his life, or to join the underworld at once. Either way, this is not what you want, and the deeper you get into it, the more you understand that these two roads are endless roads of no return. An idea suddenly appeared in his mind, which startled himself. Shake your head and throw the idea out of your body. But Xie Wendong did not expect that many years later, he was only one step away from this idea. Xie Wendong shook his head not to think about this. Sometimes people's fate can be decided by themselves, and sometimes it is only doomed. The next month can be said to be the most painful month for Li Shuang, Gao Chang, and the students below. There is no freedom, only oppression. There is no pleasure, only reading. Under the pressure of Xie Wendong, the grades of these social scum who are considered by teachers to be in the future have been greatly improved. It surprised a lot of teachers. I was thinking, did my own efforts finally move these bad teenagers and let them change their sex? The school also held a meeting to praise the head teacher of each class in the third year of junior high school. Their students are much better than those in the past and have made contributions to the cause of education. The head teachers of each class also said one after another, for the sake of the next generation of the motherland, we will work harder and teach students well in the future. 1,000 words are omitted below. The day of the high school entrance examination finally arrived. One day in advance, Xie Wendong called all the brothers who were going to take the exam and asked them how they were doing in their studies. Everyone bowed their heads and said nothing. I know in my heart that it is so easy to get back after 3 years of study. Seeing that everyone was silent, Xie Wendong shook his head and said, no matter what method you use, give me a BB machine when you take the exam tomorrow. Li Shuang asked, Brother Dong, what are you doing with that thing? Gao Chang first froze, but immediately understood it and hit Li Shuang on the head. You are a pig, Brother Dong. Pass us the answer. Li Shuang looked like, I know very well, and said loudly, piss off, pretend I don't know? Then he turned to the younger brother next to him and whispered, what's going on with the BB machine to transmit the answer? The little brother who was asked had a helpless look on his face. Brother Chang was right. He was really a pig. But he dared not say so and explained it in detail. Xie Wendong saw that everyone was talking with a smile on his face and said loudly, who can't borrow it now? I'll think of a way for you. At that time, BB phones were still new in the Northeast, but mobile phones were all popular as they are now. Several younger brothers raised their hands. Li Shuang looked around, blushed, lowered his head and raised his hands. Gao Chang pulled him next to him. I said fat, don't be ashamed of yourself. I'll borrow yours for you. Li Shuang's head was even lower, and he whispered in an embarrassed voice, my family is poor. All the brothers around laughed. Xie Wendong said with a smile, who can borrow as much as possible and help other brothers get through this first? You know, there are a few rich families. Volume 1 Juvenile Blood Chapter 5 _ How to Make a Bad Guy 1. Say loudly, got it, Brother Dong. Xie Wendong nodded with satisfaction. Li Shuang asked, Brother Dong, did you think of this way to help us pass? Oh, this is called planning ahead. What do you have enough ink in your belly for? Then why did Brother Dong force us to read books for a month? Li Shuang is also helping everyone to express their doubts. Xie Wendong said solemnly, because I don't want you to go to high school like a mallet. You should also remember that if there is no culture in the future, you are nothing in society. No matter where you go, No one can think highly of you, even if you join the underworld and become the boss. It was only then that everyone knew Xie Wendong's intentions. He was really thinking of himself, and they were all moved and said in unison, "Got it, Brother Dong." The next day, the gate of number 4 primary school was crowded with parents. Because the examination center of number 2 middle school is set here, parents have been standing here all morning in order to cheer their children on. Three Eyes squatted to one side, smoking one after another, looked at his watch and asked the younger brother, "Xiaohua, do you go and see if the telephone hall is all occupied?" It was called Xiaohuaren and ran to one side. "It's been more than an hour, but why haven't you come out yet?" Waiting for the impatient Three Eyes to whisper, "Brother Three Eyes, is Brother Dong unable to get out?" The younger brother next to him asked. He shook his head with Three Eyes, but he didn't know. After 5 minutes, someone patted him on the shoulder 3 times and startled him. He turned around and was about to scold him. As soon as he saw that it was Xie Wendong, his open mouth immediately closed. "Brother Dong, where did you come from? Why didn't I see you?" Xie Wendong said with delight, "Someone can't guard the door, so I have to jump over the wall." With that, he took a piece of paper out of his pocket and gave it to Three Eyes. "Come on, there's not enough time for a while." "Well, Brother Dong, don't worry, you can't miss any of them." Three Eyes, holding the paper, did not look to lead the little brother to run away. Finally, the results of the high school entrance examination came out. All the brothers passed, and Xie Wendong ranked first in the city, but it was this top student in the high school entrance examination who took the initiative to go to the 3rd class high school and the 1st middle school in J City, which puzzled the teachers and sighed in their hearts that it was a pity. As soon as they followed a good seedling, it was ruined like this. Xie Wendong's parents were even more opposed, and Xie Wendong, who was forced to do nothing, finally said to his parents, "Mom and Dad, I have grown up, so let me choose my own future path. I assure you that I will be admitted to college in 3 years' time." Xie Wendong's father said to his mother, "Well, the child is old. He has his own choice. We can force him for a while, but not for the rest of his life." Then he said to Xie Wendong, "Wendong, I hope you can go your own way, and you won't have a chance to regret it again." In this way, Xie Wendong entered the notorious number 1 middle school as the first in the city, and brought more than 100 younger brothers at the same time. Xie Wendong finally ended his junior high school career, which changed his fate and began a new course of life. Xie Wendong was not idle during the holiday when he was promoted to high school. After a fight with Three Eyes, he knew that it was not enough to rely on the mind and a cruel heart to make a difference in society, but also needed a strong body. More than 2. Volume 1 Juvenile Blood Chapter 5 _ How to Make a Bad Guy 1. During the month, Xie Wendong joined the Sanda class and the martial arts class, and continued to do physical exercise as long as he was free. Even Three Eyes admired his perseverance. Having been in contact for such a long time, his understanding of Xie Wendong's character is, either don't do it or do it for the best. A month later, Xie Wendong found Sanda class with Three Eyes. Wearing boxing gloves and Three Eyes, no one knows who loses and who wins, but both end up miserably, with injuries all over their bodies. Half a month later, Xie Wendong brought in Three Eyes again. This time, Li Shuang and Gao Chang followed, but they were turned away. After the Three Eyes with big swollen eyes came out, they asked the result, and the Three Eyes only said, "Brother Dong is very talented in sports," and then walked away. Half a month later, when Xie Wendong looked for Three Eyes again, he still had 3 slightly swollen eyes on the ground and said nothing. Xie Wendong had no way and began to lure, "As long as you go, I'll treat you to dinner in the evening, and you can choose any place you want." Three Eyes closed and said, "Even if I say a flower, I will not go. If the life is gone, can I still eat?" Li Shuang could not stand the temptation and offered to go to a single message with Xie Wendong. Three Eyes looked at Li Shuang with pity and shook his head for a while, and said to himself, "Take care, brother." As a result, Li Shuang and Xie Wendong vomited 2 groove teeth when they had dinner at night. From then on, when Xie Wendong asked someone to go to a single bar, there was absolutely no one within 5 meters. Three Eyes once said, Brother Dong can run 100 meters when he is not fooling around in the future. His explosive power suits the sport. Li Shuang nodded when he heard the experience. More than 2 months have passed. Xie Wendong is still the same, but his head is a little taller, giving people the impression that he is still very thin. The number 1 middle school is far from Xie Wendong's home, so he has to go to school by bike. When I got to the school gate, the first thing I saw was a break. The cement columns on both sides of the door were covered with pieces of paper. Patients with venereal diseases don't have to worry. No, no, no. No, no, no. Fainted, this kind of advertisement is posted to the school? Xie Wendong shook his head and walked towards the school. Seeing an old man sitting in the duty room at the door reading the newspaper, Xie Wendong went over and asked, "Sir, I am a new student here. Where can I report for freshmen?" The old man put the newspaper down, read Xie Wendong and said loudly, "What are you talking about? I didn't hear you. Speak louder." Xie Wendong had to say aloud, "I said, where do the freshmen report?" "What? You're going to be late soon. Then why don't you go to class and say something to me?" The old man shook his head and went on reading the newspaper. Xie Wendong almost vomited blood. With such a doorman, is there still a mess in this school? No longer pay attention to the old man, push the car to the school. After a few steps, the roar of the locomotive came from behind. Xie Wendong didn't have time to think about it. Instinctively, he jumped to one side and the car fell to the ground. A motorcycle flew past him and stopped not far ahead. The cyclist was dressed in jeans, took off his helmet, and his black hair was flying in the air, looking back at Xie Wendong. Xie Wendong saw clearly that the cyclist turned out to be a girl. Gauzy face, 2 thin curved eyebrows, embedded with bright black pearl eyes. Delicate red lips are moving up and down. "Are you blind? Don't you have eyes when you walk?" The voice is very beautiful. Volume 1 Juvenile Blood Chapter 5 _ How to Make a Bad Guy 1. But the words let Xie Wendong no longer want to appreciate her beauty. He looked aggrieved and said, "It seems that you bumped into her on your bike first. Why do you blame me?" The girl looked up and down at Xie Wendong, with an average figure and a handsome appearance, and her eyes were so special. It is thin, long and bright. It gives people a different feeling. Seeing the girl staring at herself, Xie Wendong was embarrassed. "Classmate, what's wrong with me?" Xie Wendong's voice interrupted the girl's contemplation. His pink cheeks were a little red. He got off the motorcycle and came up to him and said, "Are you a new student?" Xie Wendong nodded. "I feel that this girl has a good figure, about 1.7 meters tall, almost the same as herself." With his slim figure, Xie Wendong finally understood the meaning of being graceful and graceful. "If you are a freshman, you should call me sister, not a classmate. You look very thin and frail. If someone bullies you in the future, you will come to see your elder sister, and I'll help you out." The girl said and patted Xie Wendong on the head. She did not know why. When she saw this handsome boy, she always wanted to be close to him and protect him. Maybe it was because he was thin and weak that she wanted to protect herself. The girl explained to herself. Xie Wendong is a little confused. This girl is not an ordinary big name, but still nodded very good. "Yes, thank you, sister." The younger brother remembers. Seeing that Xie Wendong's bright eyes were looking at himself with a smile, he jumped in his heart, shook his head and walked away. "Tell herself in my heart that she is leaving, not on the run." Xie Wendong shouted at the back, "Goodbye, sister." In fact, he didn't even know which class the girl was in, and he didn't want to know. It was intuitive appreciation of beauty that he was attracted to that girl just now. Seeing that the girl was far away, Xie Wendong withdrew his eyes and bowed down to help the car up. Then came the tenor, "Brother Dong, give me a minute. You don't have to look back to know who it is." Xie Wendong looks back at Li Shuang, who is sweaty, and there are Gao Chong and 6 strange faces behind him. As he approached, Li Shuang said to the 6 people, "This is Brother Dong, your boss." The 6 men glanced at Xie Wendong and bent down and said, "Hello, Brother Dong." Seeing Xie Wendong's puzzled face, Gao Chong explained, "These 6 younger brothers are also freshmen, Brother 3 Eyes, and we have found them. They are all little tigers when they fight." Xie Wendong nodded to the 6 people and said to Li Shuang and Gao Chong, "When the brothers arrive, you watch it and don't make trouble. Okay?" The 2 nodded and Li Shuang smiled and said, "Brother Dong, I've learned something from you for so long." "Don't worry." Xie Wendong turned and shook his head and said, "I am most worried about you." Push the cart to the side of the parking shed. Gao Chong had a laugh and the cart followed Xie Wendong. What else can you do but gloat? Li Shuang's fat body caught up with Xie Wendong from his new bike, and 6 new boys followed him with a smile on his face. Xie Wendong and others came to the shed and were about to enter when they were stopped by 2 students at the door. "Hey, stop and just go in what you do. Don't you know this is where the teacher parked?" Li Shuang was upset. "I just saw someone in a student uniform park his car in there. Why can't we do it?" A small-eyed student glanced at Li Shuang. "He is someone else, but you are you. If I say no, I can't." The thin man with him did not speak, but his head was raised so that one could see the nose hair in his nose. Li Shuang parked his car and came forward to argue. "What? Just because I'm a freshman, right? I'm telling you, get out of my way right now. I have to park my car here today." Xie Wendong also felt that the 2 men had gone too far and did not stop Li Shuang. Volume 1 Juvenile Blood Chapter 6 _ How to Make a Bad Guy 1. As soon as he heard this, he opened his eyes wide and said loudly, "Boy, are you looking for a fight? Get out of here. I don't have time to grind my teeth with you. You stare at your mother. It's not as big as soybeans." Little Eyes can't stand it anymore. Usually, he is most annoyed with others saying that his eyes are small. Today, a freshman said to his face that the fire had hit his forehead. "Do it as soon as you pull your sleeve." Xie Wendong held out his hand in front of him and said, "Forget it for my brother. My friend is new and ignorant. Let's put the car somewhere else." Little Eyes didn't pay attention to Xie Wendong at all and pushed his hand away. "What? So you're done? It's none of your business. Get out of here and stand there. Grasp your mother's arm. I will beat you today." Li Shuang blew up after hearing that. He was the most ruthless when others scolded Xie Wendong, and most hated people who were not friends who said he was fat. This little eye is so uninteresting that it takes up both points. Without saying a word, Li Shuang came to him. He swung his hand and slapped it on the face of the Little Eyes. Little Eye was beaten out of 2 steps, in front of a Venus. "How dare you hit me, my mother?" "Hit you? I also want to let you know why the flowers are so red." With that, he pedaled on the belly of the Little Eyes. The Little Eyes stood unsteadily and sat on the ground. Li Shuang stepped forward, no matter his head or body, and gave him a sharp kick. The thin man with Little Eyes saw that he had been beaten and was just about to be stopped by Gao Chong. Gao Chong looked back at Xie Wendong and was relieved to see Brother Dong smiling. "Say to the newcomer, 'Guys, come and warm up. None of these people are easy to bully birds.'" Just now the boss did not dare to speak up. Now listen to Gao Chong this cry. 6 people with a bad smile on their faces surrounded the thin. One of them said, "I'll do the proofing." He raised his foot and kicked it on the leg of the thin man, and the thin man shook his body. "You pout for me." Another man came over and grabbed the hair of the thin man, one by one, and pulled it down hard. The thin man had to bend down because of a pain in his scalp. Others swarmed in, and the skinny had a fist and leather shoes. At this time, a man who looked like a teacher came into the shed. Everyone had just graduated from junior high school. They were still afraid of the teacher and stopped one after another. As if he didn't see them, the man went into the shed, locked the car, turned around and walked away quickly. Li Shuang asked Gao Chong with a strange face, "Is this man a teacher? Why didn't you say a word?" Gao Chong didn't understand, so he shook his head and said, "God knows. There are so many strange things in this stupid school." Everyone nodded in agreement. Xie Wendong looked at the 2 people wriggling on the ground and said to everyone, "Almost, let's go." The crowd followed Xie Wendong and walked a long way before they saw a car shed several times bigger than the one just now. Everyone locked up their cars and came to the playground. At this time, many people were already standing on the playground, and Li Shuang whispered, "It seems that there are a lot of freshmen here. The people on the playground are either in small groups or in groups of 7 or 81, dressed in a variety of ways, and few of them do not have cigarettes in their hands, except girls." Xie Wendong thought maybe all the bad teenagers in the city are concentrated here. See here, his mood is excited. He likes the challenge that makes people's heart boiling, what he thinks is conquer. Volume 1 Juvenile Blood Chapter 6 _ How to Make a Bad Guy 1. Xie Wendong and others stood in the front, and the brothers arrived one after another. After a while, more than 40 people gathered. Xie Wendong said to Li Shuang, "Xiao Shuang, go and see if there are any brothers who haven't come over." Li Shuang nodded, stood still, withdrew his voice and shouted, "All those looking for Brother Dong, come here." The sound is so loud that it can be heard everywhere on the playground. Gao Chong stood next to Li Shuang, only felt his ears buzzing, and kicked Li Shuang's ass. "Grass, Brother Dong asked you to find it. Who told you to shout? Your ears are almost deafening." Li Shuang smiled and said proudly, "How's my voice? The lethality is not ordinary. In fact, I feel that I am more suitable for singing on the Qinghai Tibet Plateau than Li Na." Plop, lie down in the back. Li Shuang's tenor is still effective, and some of the brothers who did not find Xie Wendong ran over one after another. But there's still a lot of shouting around. "Who is it? Call you motherfucker. Who was fucking howling just now? It's like a ghost." Li Shuang blushed and shouted angrily, "Sons, it was your grandfather and me. If anyone is not satisfied, get your ass over here." Xie Wendong wanted to wave to the younger brother around Li Shuang. Everyone understood to get out of the way, exposing Li Shuang alone on the playground. Xie Wendong didn't want to cause trouble as soon as he arrived, but his young and turbulent heart made him change his mind. "I also wanted to take the opportunity to stand in front of the freshmen, so I didn't stop Li Shuang. There are hot-tempered teenagers on the playground, all surrounded by Li Shuang." A student dressed in blue was the first to ask, "Grass, is that what you yelled, right?" Li Shuang looked up and down at him, glanced at him and said, "You are no match, go pouting." The student in blue was almost angry to death. He was as fat as a pig and said that others couldn't. He stopped talking and hit Li Shuang with his fist. Li Shuang has a hot temper and is the #1 general under Xie Wendong, and he has a lot of experience in fighting. When you see the other fist coming, grab it. With the other hand, he slapped the blue student in the face. The slap was so powerful that the student was so beaten that he could not get up on the ground. Li Shuang looked around and shouted, "Who's next? If it's a man's, don't play grandson with me. Go on." Li Shuang's words aroused the anger of the people next to him. Hula came up and 7 or 8 people surrounded Li Shuang. Hey, you want to fight, don't you? I will play with you today." Li Shuang's face was somewhat ferocious, which startled these people. 7 or 8 people saw that there was only one Li Shuang, and no matter how powerful he was, he could not stand up to the large number of people and suppressed his unease. Together to Li Shuang fight, several people tore into a ball. After a while, several people had a smile on their faces. Xie Wendong nodded to Gao Chong, and Gao Chong stepped forward with an arrow, grabbed a student by the collar and punched him in the stomach with the other hand. With a sound of oops, the student was almost huddled up. With an effort, Gao Chong threw the students out and grabbed the next one. Li Shuang and Gao Chong beat several people to cry for their father and mother, and the one who ran out was stopped by Xie Wendong's younger brother. Seeing that the 7 or 8 students could not afford to fall to the ground, Xie Wendong told everyone to stop. Li Shuang wiped the blood from the corners of his mouth and smiled. "What a pleasure! If anyone else is not satisfied, let's go. Haha." The freshman next to him has his head under his head and sweeps around the corner of his eye. Volume 1 Juvenile Blood Chapter 6 _ How to Make a Bad Guy 1. 7 or 8 people whose faces were covered with blood on the ground felt a wave of hair in their hearts. Li Shuang suddenly changed his face. As if Brother Dong said not to cause trouble first, he said to himself, "It's bad." Looking back at Xie Wendong, Li Shuang put his heart down when he nodded to himself with satisfaction, straightened up and let out a high-pitched voice. "I know some of you are not convinced, but do you know who we are? The eldest brother behind me is Xie Wendong from number 2 middle school. If you want to fight us, you can do it yourself. After listening to the discussion for a while, the freshmen around them also heard that there was a new bully in and around the school. His name was Xie Wendong. Then the school horn sounded. All freshmen gather on the playground. All freshmen gather on the playground. The classes will be divided into classes now. The freshmen stopped talking and stood up one by one, and the students on the ground also let the students. My friend picked him up and stood aside. After a while, several teachers came out of the teaching building. The first one was a bald, middle-aged man in his 50s with a loudspeaker in his hand. Come to a small platform 1 meter high in front of the playground and stand up. The bald, middle-aged man picked up the horn and said, "Hello. No, no, no. No, no, no. Hello." Feeling that the voice was okay, he coughed and said, "Hello, everyone. I am the principal of the school. Here, on behalf of the whole school, teachers and students welcome you to join the school. That our school has a long history. Omit 10,000 words. Next, let the teaching director of our school say a few words to everyone." Well, let's applaud. The headmaster finally finished his long speech in which 60% were about the history of the school, 30% about the future of joining the school, and 10% were intermittent words such as well, this, that, and so on. A few applause broke out sporadically below, and Li Shuang stood there shaking his body constantly, making the final battle with his eyelids. Look at Li Shuang's appearance. Gao Chang pinched on his leg, scared Li Shuang a lot of spirit. The instructor took the trumpet and said, "Hello." Xie Wendong felt that his head was really big. I don't know how these people got into this position. The instructor tried to make a sound for half a minute and began to speak. "Good morning, everyone. I am the teaching director of our school. My surname is Ma. If you have any questions in the future, please feel free to come to me. The headmaster has made the history of our school very clear just now, and I would like to add a few more words." The sound of plop came out one after another below. Li Shuang pulled Xie Wendong's clothes and said in a low voice, "Brother Dong, why do I have the impulse to make a fuss?" Xie Wendong is speechless, because now too much is pressing down the idea. 5,000 words omitted. No, no, no. Therefore, you should be honored to be here. All right, let's start to divide the classes. The dean finally said one of everyone's favorite words, and there was a big round of applause. The dean did not forget to shout twice before giving the trumpet to the headmaster. "Thank you, thank you." After the division of classes, Xie Wendong and Li Shuang and several brothers were divided into classes 6 in the first year of senior high school. Gao Chang was assigned to class 3 with an unhappy look on his face. There are more students in this class, which are divided into 8 classes, each with more than 60 students. The younger brother brought by Xie Wendong was scattered among various classes. The head of each class. Volume 1 Juvenile Blood Chapter 6 _ How to Make a Bad Guy 1. Run brought his students back to the classroom and sat down according to their size. The head teacher of Xie Wendong's class is a male teacher in his 40s. Not tall and with eyes. But Xie Wendong feels that this man is very evil. Xie Wendong was placed in the middle, and his deskmate was an extroverted girl. As soon as Xie Wendong sat down, the girl put her hand in front of him and said, "Hello. My name is Lu Ting." Xie Wendong froze, but immediately held the girl's little hand and said, "My name is Xie Wendong. Hello." At this time, Xie Wendong saw Lu Ting's appearance clearly. She was very cute. She had big eyes and long eyelashes. When she blinked, she looked like 2 small fans. "Xie Wendong? I think I've heard someone say that name before." Li Ting blinked, but couldn't remember. She looked at Xie Wendong with doubt and asked, "Do you know anyone in National Day holiday?" Xie Wendong shook his head and smiled and said nothing. Li Shuang sat in front of Xie Wendong and looked back at him from time to time, his eyes glowing with envy and jealousy. When Xie Wendong saw this, he patted Li Shuang on the head and asked, "Xiao Shuang, why do you always look at me?" Li Shuang, with a sad face, curled his mouth to the girl next to him, held Xie Wendong's hand, and said excitedly, "Brother Dong, I am bitter." Li Shuang's strange expression amused Li Ting. Xie Wendong looked at Li Shuang's deskmate, and it happened that the girl heard laughter behind her and looked back. Seeing clearly the face of Li Shuang's deskmate, Xie Wendong finally knew the suffering of his brother. Nodded, a serious face but eyes smiled and said, "I have been because you are very patriotic. Did not expect that you will meet a more patriotic. I'm sure I'll be very happy in the future." Li Shuang froze, did not expect that Brother Dong will also joke. Talking to himself, do not know what to mumble. In fact, since Xie Wendong and Li Shuang, Gao Chang, Three Eyes have been in contact, the personality has also been a lot of cheerful, but he did not notice it. Li Ting Lala Xie Wendong's clothes asked curiously, "What is patriotic?" Xie Wendong had a laugh and lowered his voice so as not to let the girls in front of him hear. For example, during the War of Resistance against Japan, there was a man who could scare Japanese devils to death. Do you think he is very patriotic? Plop! Li Ting fainted. How bad you are. That's what you say about girls. Heh heh. It was just a little joke. Giggle, what fun you guys are talking about. Hearing the laughter behind him, Li Shuang sighed a long sigh from the sky. Oh, it's a pity that I want to look talented. No, no, no. Turn around and look at the girls around you. It's a pity that I was born at the wrong time. Then the teacher went to the podium and knocked on the table in front of the podium. All be quiet. Be quiet. The classroom quieted down. The teacher was satisfied with the effect, nodded and said, "Now, let me introduce myself." Then he picked up the chalk and wrote 3 words on the wooden blackboard. Long Fei Fong Dance. Then said with a little chalk, "This is my name." A student didn't understand and stood up and asked, "Teacher, I don't know what you wrote. Read it again." The teacher changed his face and left the chalk in his hand on the student's head. "You are a pig. I don't know whether I graduated from junior high school or not. Why is the quality of this class of students so low?" Seeing that the student's face was flushed, he paused and said, "I'll tell you. These 3 words are called Liang Yong Liang. You sit down." Li Shuang turned around and whispered to Xie Wendong, "Damn it, this one is different. The teachers all scold people. Damn it, grow a head who wants to be taught a lesson." Xie Wendong snorted, "Such people are everywhere, not just in number 1 middle school." "Hey, what are you two talking about?" The teacher stared at Xie Wendong and Li Shuang. Li Shuang turned to look at him and refrained from speaking. The teacher picked up a piece of paper and said in a loud voice, "Now I will call the roll and raise my hand and shout who I have called. Starting now, Lu Tao. Here we are. Wang Buiyuan. Here we are. Li Shuang." Li Shuang raised his hand and shouted feebly. The teacher glared at him and read, "Xie Wendong. No, no, no. No, no, no." Reading this, teacher stopped. He said with a smile, "What a strange name. I remember that before the liberation of the Northeast, a bandit leader was also called Xie Wendong." Li Shuang almost lost his breath when he heard his lungs. He was about to stand up and was pulled by Xie Wendong. The teacher completely ignored the following more than a dozen eyes, and then said, "I don't know how your parents named you?" Xie Wendong slowly stood up and said, "Teacher, it's impolite to insult other people's names. Don't you know your parents didn't teach you?" Volume 1 Juvenile Blood Chapter 7 _ How to Make a Bad Guy 1. "What are you? How dare you talk to me like that?" The teacher felt that his dignity should not be challenged, shouted angrily, and his hands were still waving in the air. Xie Wendong looked at the middle-aged man with teeth and claws in front of him without blinking. He felt irritable. Xie Wendong pointed to him, "You are nothing in front of me. You'd better leave me alone, or you'll know the bitterness of regret." After saying that, he lifted his trouser leg and sat on the seat. "You. No, no, no." What else did the teacher want to say? But at the sight of Xie Wendong's beast-like eyes, he swallowed back what he had said to his mouth. He didn't want to admit that he was intimidated by a new student, but his trembling legs betrayed him. "Secretly remember Xie Wendong's name in my heart. Hey, hey, smile, and then call the roll." Li Shuang turned around and asked Xie Wendong, "Brother Dong, are we just going to put up with it?" Xie Wendong squinted. "There will be a chance in the future. then crawled on the table and got ready to go to bed. Recently, I don't know why, Xie Wendong feels that he likes to sleep very much recently. He used to wake up at 4:30, but now he doesn't want to get up until 6 o'clock. If someone interrupts his sleep, he will be very upset. After the roll call, the teacher elected the class cadres. Of course, although Xie Wendong got the best grades, he was so impressed by the teacher that he didn't get anything. It's just that the teacher didn't know that Xie Wendong was very satisfied with the result. In the end, the class cadres moved new books very happily. After the new book was sent out, the teacher said, "After school is over now, remember to arrive at school at 7 o'clock tomorrow and start at 8 o'clock. No one will be late for me." After saying that, I went to the door of the classroom, thinking about how to fix Xie Wendong, who had just made me lose face. Xie Wendong and Li Shuang walked out of the classroom and followed their brothers in the same class. I saw several people standing in the hallway of the classroom, all wearing school uniforms. I saw Xie Wendong and Li Shuang, among whom a student whose face was swollen like a pig's head, said to the people next to him, "Brother Tiger, it's them. My fingers are too hard. I feel a pain in my body." Xie Wendong looked intently and found that he was beaten by Li Shuang in the morning and admired him in his heart. He can still walk after being beaten violently by Li Shuang, which shows the tenacity of vitality. Li Shuang also saw clearly and curled his mouth. "What's wrong with you? You're still not convinced." The student who was called Brother Tiger by the little eye came over, looked at Gao Shuang and said, "Brother, you are new here, so you don't give face to the old man. I can't ignore people like this." This is called Brother Tiger, who is more than 1.8 meters tall, with a big waist and a round waist. As soon as he raises his eyes, he has 3 lines on his forehead, which is really a bit like a tiger. "What do you want?" Gao Shuang dare not underestimate this tiger brother. "I'm not sure if I fight him one-on-one." Brother Tiger nodded. "I'll see you in the woods behind the playground and sort things out. With that, turn around and leave." Little Eye limped behind and looked back at Gao Shuang as he walked. "Dick, you'd better get the stretcher ready. If you don't come, who will be the son? I'll go to the fuck. Get some people to break you up. Wait for me later." At this time, Gao Chong also came and asked Xie Wendong, "Brother Dong, what's going on?" "Thank you." Volume 1 Juvenile Blood Chapter 7 _ How to Make a Bad Guy 1. Before Wendong spoke, Li Shuang took over. "The 2 little bitches who took a taxi in the shed in the morning are looking for someone. Let's go to the grove behind the playground to solve." After hearing this, Gao Chong rubbed his hands and said, "Brother Dong, we haven't had a big fight for a long time. It's time to have a good activity today." Xie Wendong nodded. "It seems that it is impossible not to fight here. After all, this is a concentration camp for bad teenagers in number 1 middle school. Changzi, go and get all your brothers. I have plans." Gao Chong said yes and ran away. A small and medium-sized forest is not big. In the back of the playground, there are weeds and rubbish everywhere. School leaders will not come to such a place at all. It has become a gathering place for school thugs, where one-on-one fights and parties are usually chosen. The dry blood on the ground can still be seen. Xie Wendong and Li Shuang walked into the woods, and there were more than 10 brothers behind them. From afar, I saw Brother Tiger with a group of people waiting inside, all with prescriptions in their hands. The 2 sides came to the middle of the woods and looked at each other. Xie Wendong looked at Brother Tiger and said, "How many hands are you in number 1 middle school?" Brother Tiger smiled. "Who are you? Why are you talking to me?" Li Shuang lit a cigarette for Xie Wendong and said, "This is Brother Dong, our boss." Brother who looked at Xie Wendong, "Brother Dong, right? I haven't heard of it. I don't care where you came from. Number 1 middle school is the place of high boss. Since you are here, you have to give me a plate, and a tiger, you have to lie down. If you want to be king here, you have to look in the mirror. Today, let's talk about how you beat my brother." Li Shuang lit his cigarette and said, "I don't know who the boss you're talking about and what he is." No. Xie Wendong stopped Li Shuang and didn't let him talk. "We beat up the people. What do you want to do? Draw the truth. Whether or not to stand up here is our business, which you are not qualified to take care of." Brother Tiger, okay. Boy, you have balls. Let's not talk about this first, but let's just say that you beat up my brother. How about this account? Li Shuang shouted. I'm your mother. Fuck you, what are you? Do you really think you are a tiger with a few stripes on your head? Hey, hey! The tiger sneered and said, Fatso, you don't have to be arrogant now. I'll let you find your teeth all over the ground. Li Shuang untied his coat and lifted his sleeve. Come on, bitch. I see how you made me find my teeth all over the floor. Xie Wendong turned his arm sideways, knowing that he could not pass this hurdle if he did not fight. He stared at Brother Hu and said, This battle must be fought. I wanted to avoid it, but I can't help it when I get to this point today. As he said that, without any warning, he rushed to Brother Tiger, raised his leg and slammed his knee into each other's belly. Brother Tiger did not expect the other party to start so soon. He was hit hard in the stomach unexpectedly, and the pain made him bend over. Xie Wendong took the opportunity to hold down Brother Tiger's bowed head, and then used his knee to cushion his face. Brother Tiger, who is also an old fighter, quickly reflected it and used his arm to block Xie Wendong's raised knee. Seeing that the knee had no effect on him, Xie Wendong slapped his lower back with his elbow instead. The elbow is the hardest part of the human body. Xie Wendong hit it with all his strength. Brother Tiger couldn't stand it any longer. His back felt like he had been struck by lightning. Volume 1 Juvenile Blood Chapter 7_ How to Make a Bad Guy 1. Fell to the ground with a loud cry. Brother Tiger underestimated the enemy for a moment and was hit to the ground without getting a chance to backhand. Xie Wendong knew that he should not be soft on the enemy, and since he had started, he had to fight until the other side could not get up. Now his eyes shone like a beast, and he no longer regarded Brother Tiger, who had fallen on the ground, as a human being. He grabbed his hair and slammed into the ground, and for a moment Brother Tiger's face was covered with blood and his mind was blurred. When Xie Wendong rushed to Brother Tiger, Li Shuang did not stand still and rushed to the younger brother brought by Brother Tiger with a loud shout, and the brothers behind took out sticks pinned to his back and followed him. Li Shuang, who rushed in front of him, saw a small eye and his big mouth cracked. Little bitch, can't you play? I'll have a good time with you today. Standing behind the crowd, Little I saw Li Shuang running towards him from afar, scaring him out with a limp. Li Shuang gave him a chance to catch up with him and beat him to the ground in a few steps. He still showed some mercy in the morning, but this time he showed no mercy and used all his strength to greet the little eye. Others are also looking for opponents and fighting together. At this time, more than 30 people came in from the outside, holding the prescription that had just been removed from the chair, and joined the regiment without saying a word. The leader was a tall man with gaudy hair and open clothes, which was Gao Chong. For a while there was a lot of shouting in the woods, and the students on the playground were used to it for a long time. It was peaceful when it was time to chat and play ball. In the woods, however, it was like hell on earth. The students whose bones were broken fell to the ground and howled, and the students who could stand but with blood on their faces could not hear them at all. Now they saw only the enemy. In this way, the struggle between the newly arrived forces in China and the old ones began. Xie Wendong stood up. His hands were red with blood, and his face was a little bloody. Brother Tiger on the ground had fainted. He wiped the blood on his face, bent down to grab the hair of Brother Tiger, who had fainted, and pulled him up. "Stop it!" Xie Wendong shouted. The volume at this time is not inferior to that of Li Shuang. When the students heard the cry, they stopped and looked at Xie Wendong. Everyone was startled, for it was not the man but the devil who was standing there in their eyes. After the blood star on Xie Wendong's face was wiped, it scattered on his face, showing unusually ferocious, covered in blood. I didn't know whether it was his own or someone else's. I grabbed Brother Tiger's hair in his hand and lifted his upper body up. I didn't know whether he was dead or alive. This is just like the devil who just came out of hell. Oh my God! Help! Brother Hu, 2 of his men shouted, ran out of the woods and was stopped by a dozen brothers Xie Wendong had arranged outside the woods and kicked violently. Then he was dragged back and threw it on the ground. The men brought by Brother Tiger are all stupid. Xie Wendong raised the corner of his mouth. No one here is going to leave today. After listening to Xie Wendong's words, some people have already sat on the ground and began to cry. Others have no fighting spirit at all. Xie Wendong raised the corners of his mouth higher and was very satisfied with the effect. Actually, it's just bluffing. First of all, you are like him. Xie Wendong lifted the body of Brother Tiger in his hand. The second is to follow me. You